The salty air hung heavy over Havenwood, a town tucked away on a forgotten stretch of coastline. The rhythm of the waves crashing against the shore was the town's heartbeat. Seagulls called overhead, their cries echoing through the salty air. The scent of brine mingled with the sweetness of baking bread from the local bakery. Havenwood was a place of secrets whispered on the wind and dreams carried on the ocean breeze. It held the promise of peace for those willing to listen. The town was small, its inhabitants bound by a shared love for the sea and its mysteries. Weather-beaten houses stood shoulder to shoulder, their windows reflecting the ever-changing moods of the ocean. The harbour was the heart of Havenwood, where fishing boats bobbed gently, their masts reaching towards the sky like silent sentinels. There was a timeless quality to the town, a sense that life here moved at a different pace. The people of Havenwood were as varied as the seashells scattered along the shore. There were weathered fishermen, their faces etched with years spent battling the elements. Shopkeepers greeted customers with warm smiles and friendly banter. Artists and writers were drawn to Havenwood's quiet beauty, finding inspiration in its rugged landscapes and the ever-present rhythm of the sea. Each resident, in their own way, added to the tapestry of life in Havenwood. Despite its tranquil facade, Havenwood held on to its secrets tightly. Like the sea itself, the town had depths yet to be explored, stories waiting to be told. It was a place where the past lingered, casting long shadows over the present. But it was also a place of hope, where new beginnings could be found and even the most wounded souls could heal. For those willing to open their hearts to its magic, Havenwood offered a chance at redemption, a haven from the storms of life. Isla stepped off the bus, her heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. The salty air filled her lungs, cleansing her of the city's grime and the remnants of a life left behind. She had arrived in Havenwood, seeking solace and a chance to outrun the ghosts of her past. Memories of her life in the city, a whirlwind of noise and broken promises, clung to her like shadows. The constant hum of traffic, the crowded streets, the suffocating feeling of being trapped, it was all she had ever known. But beneath the surface, a longing for peace had always simmered within her, a longing for a place where she could breathe again. The weight of her past, a burden she carried on her shoulders, had become too heavy to bear. Her relationship with Evan, once a source of joy, had turned toxic, leaving her emotionally drained and broken. The echoes of his harsh words and the sting of his betrayal still lingered in her mind. She had loved him with all her heart, but love, she realized, wasn't always enough. Havenwood, with its promise of tranquility and fresh starts, beckoned to her like a beacon in the night. She'd stumbled upon a faded postcard depicting its charming harbour and quaint houses nestled along the coast. Something about the image had resonated deep within her, whispering of a place where she could find solace and rebuild her life. She yearned for the sound of waves crashing against the shore, the salty tang of the ocean breeze, the simple rhythm of life in a place untouched by the chaos of her past. Havenwood represented a chance to escape, to heal, and to rediscover herself. Logan stood at the helm of his fishing boat, the seafarer, his calloused hands gripping the worn wheel. The salty wind whipped through his hair, carrying the scent of the open ocean and a hint of rain. He scanned the horizon, his gaze steady and unwavering, a reflection of the man he had become. Solitary, reserved, and haunted by a past he couldn't outrun. The vast expanse of the ocean had always been his sanctuary, a place where he could escape the turmoil within. The rhythmic rocking of the waves, the cries of the gulls, the salty spray against his face. These were the elements that soothed his soul. Out here on the open water, he found a sense of peace that eluded him on land. Logan had arrived in Havenwood years ago, seeking refuge from the wreckage of his past. A tragedy, its details etched into his memory, had driven him from the city and the life he once knew. The guilt and grief he carried were heavy burdens, weighing down his spirit and isolating him from the world. He had built walls around his heart, convinced that opening himself up to others would only lead to more pain. The townsfolk knew little about Logan, and he preferred it that way. He was a man of few words, content with the company of the sea and the solitude it provided. He would spend his days fishing, mending his nets, and tending to the seafarer, his movements measured and deliberate, his face etched with a quiet sadness. He had resigned himself to a life of solitude, believing that he was unworthy of love or happiness. The aroma of freshly baked bread wafted through the air, beckoning Isla towards a charming little bakery nestled on a corner lot. Its windows displayed a mouth-watering array of pastries and loaves, their golden crusts glistening in the morning light. A hand-painted sign above the door read, "Havenwood Hearth," its letters curling like the wisps of steam escaping from a freshly baked pie. Isla had been in Havenwood for a few weeks, slowly acclimating to the slower pace of life and the warmth of its inhabitants. She had rented a small cottage overlooking the harbour, its windows offering a breathtaking view of the sea. Each morning she would wake up to the sound of waves crashing against the shore, a sound that both soothed and invigorated her. Determined to make a fresh start, Isla had decided to pursue her passion for baking. She had always found solace in the kitchen, her hands moving with practiced ease as she transformed flour, sugar and butter into edible works of art. She approached the owner of Havenwood Hearth, a kind-hearted woman named Mrs. O'Malley, about the possibility of renting out the bakery's kitchen during the evenings. Mrs. O'Malley, with a twinkle in her eye and a knowing smile, had readily agreed. She had heard whispers in town about Isla's situation, about the heartbreak she'd endured and her desire for a new beginning. She sensed a kindred spirit in Isla, a woman who, like herself, found solace in the simple act of baking. She offered Isla not only the use of her kitchen, but also her friendship and guidance, assuring her that in Havenwood she would always find a helping hand.